I have nothing better to do on this channel except deal with criticism. Anyway, today someone asked me about PSI specifications for SAMI 12-gauge mini shells, 1 3/4 length shells, and turns out they have the same PSI rating because, to heck with it, according to SAMI, which is 11,500 PSI, which means they're just meant for whatever the upper limit for a standard shotgun is that isn't Magnum. Magnum is just a built-up design and or better materials, etc. And yes, it's still within range as after I did the calculations of most, if not all, aluminum pipe and tubing. But anyway, that was an interesting video, and I had a bunch of people commenting on pistols that used chambers that were also aluminum. Holy shit, there were 2 of those made. That was interesting. And also trying to figure out from the SAMI article why they didn't just put it up as just a flyer. So I made my own flyer and gave a link to the person because, honestly, I forgot to make one for myself. But yeah, and that means that they would technically, and technically is the best kind of technically permit you to use pistol or rifle powder in a shotgun shell under those conditions, I guess. If anybody's curious, I'm on a stupid quest to make the ultimate paintball gun that's based on having shotgun shells pop out of the top that are real, that fire, paintballs, or in this case, rubber slugs that are for self-defense. This is a weird kick I've been on. And I've explored things such as flare cartridges that are based on being semi-rimmed and perfectly functional for a magazine-fed pistol, which was made for it that fired 5 shots, which is more than enough. And of course, well, the ATF is going to have a rule on it. Yeah, $200 tax stamp rule. That's all it is. But anyway, or you can just do a brand new 50 caliber or 49 point something caliber cartridge dimension for pistols and be done with it, and just use a rifled barrel and use it for firing not shotgun shells, but just an overbore, low pressure, well, kind of pressure. But yeah, anyway, that was an interesting thing, and that's 2 minutes and 20 seconds of your life, and I mind that we're not getting back. But that was much more interesting than the actual title of the video. Journalism level railroad terminology, ignorance, talking down to the audience, Waptek's a bitch. So here we go. A video I have that says, at a gradual right-hand curve, Joplin, Montana, Amtrak, 727, derailed 8 of 10 cars by 1,000 railroad ties. This is about a meme someone posted where anything that gets in the news, someone is going to try to steal some of the search engine ranking by having their website come up, and they're going to feed conspiracy theories involving Winnie the Pooh president in China or Donald Duck Trump in the United States. Or other. They never have any merit to them. They're just videos and websites that are used to sell advertising space. But anyway, someone came along who has a compressed, very compressed channel name. This is a vanity URL, CKUEHNCNWHSYT, which, according to the channel's title, means Charles Kuehn, and the initialism works out to Chicago Northwestern Historical Society YouTube, which is an org, and this is the YouTube channel someone set up, and it's blank. This is a user that set up their YouTube channel X number of years ago or whatever, and from 2004 to 2009, this name is associated with railroad and train technologies and bridges and taking photos of them, and then suddenly stopped. I can't confirm it anywhere. Could be the person or not. The person left a comment that's kind of nasty sounding, so we're going to tear it apart real quick, and I'll just read it verbatim. Well, this uploader, or just Waptek, quote, spent nearly 10 minutes saying exactly nothing and talking down to the audience to boot. His ignorance is displayed by his journalism-level railroad terminology, among other things. And I want to point out today that somehow or other, on a completely unrelated website, Google Analytics interrupted me archiving his comment. Conspiracy? No, it's just advertising revenue from either the YouTube page, because I was archiving YouTube page, or deadass archive today is using Google Analytics to sell something. Now, you could say I was doing 10 minutes of ignorance saying nothing, if you want, or talking down to the audience. I get accused of that sometimes. But saying I did journalism-level terminology on railroads? Is that a backhanded compliment? Or is that, oh, you did mainstream words, not quantum grammar Nazi mode, but you used actual English language? I'm not sure what this is coming from. This is a person from the East Coast, I guess, who takes photos of bridges and trains and such, and has an opinion to express. So let's tear it apart. Maybe I was doing a video describing the location of an incident or accident involving rails, and it has nothing to do with getting the terminology right, because I was not assuming my viewers are rail fans, foamers, ex-hobos like I get accused of being, and various other groups of people that would give a shit, number one. Number two, it's called a magazine, I know that, in most guns. So should all of you. But there is something called a clip, and it's used inside of a magazine to clip together the cartridges and or as a stripper clip to load a magazine. So the word clip, if you're using it in certain ways, is completely correct. It just aggravates people who care about proper terminology. It's called a chamber, a barrel. It has a bore. It has lens grooves. It has a caliber based on hundredths of an inch or thousandths of an inch, depending on which way you're doing it, or millimeters, or gauge, but really caliber refers to something specific. Also, at the same time, in very large naval guns, caliber refers to how many times the diameter of the bore it is. If it's a 100 caliber, that means the barrel is 100 times longer than the projectile diameter. Or not. There's no fucking standards, but we use a set of them now that are agreed upon to be the correct ones so that we can get into arguments in the comment sections on YouTube. So, all I ask of this person is that since I'm not trying to sound technically accurate, and that's not relevant, it's about where this happened, which was not being accurately disclosed by the news. That's the point of the video. It has nothing to do with you being a rail fan or a photographer or former artist, known as that stopped contributing anything to get ever critiqued from 2004 to 2009, if you're a photographer. Charles, I can't pronounce your last name, from the Eastern Seaboard, rail fan and bridge photographer, documenting history, documenting the rails, is a fantastic photographer. If you're watching to got to the 8-minute mark, yeah, I'm saying you're a really good photographer. That's why your shit's featured. But no, instead of that, I don't even know if this is the same guy. I'd like to think you're this photographer. Instead of posting shit to get critiqued so you can go through the slings and arrows of ignorant cocksuckers, you've decided to become what you hated. I know you got critiqued. But good God, the photography this person did is perfect. Documenting what trains look like, getting multiple angles. I could take most of this guy's photos and feed them into a 3D conversion piece of software and get almost pixel for pixel accurate imaging. Okay, taking a picture of a moving train coming at you at an angle using the proper equipment takes some dedication and effort. Why aren't you doing that instead of posting shit comments? Again, I'm establishing the location plus or minus 3 feet, which is the standard at that geolocation point, for where this derailment happened. I'm speaking to ordinary people who don't give a shit about proper terminology. They don't need to know that the railroad ties are actually called something else, or that they're held in with all sorts of things besides railroad spikes, or what it's based on, or why it's crushed gravel, and why it's not round rock, because round rock bad, and why it's not cemented in place, because people don't know the fucking first thing about rails. Although on some of them they are. Fine. I'm still a traditionalist. Railroad ties are much better. But yeah, you can come along and piss and moan at me, but every time I use proper terminology, I get told that I'm talking down to people using fancy words, like the correct terms. The video was about where this happened, not whether or not I could prove to somebody that I'm of their ilk anymore. Okay? All right. But seriously, if you're the photographer, post some videos where you're doing what you're good at, not this. Do a vid or just post, which I misspelled. You can comment on that. Specifically, which I probably misspelled as well, what I got wrong in the video, and shut up otherwise. Repeating what you said. Waptec spent nearly 10 minutes saying exactly nothing, talking down to the audience. His ignorance is displayed by journalism level terminology about railroads? What is the atmospheric pressure for ignition of diesel fuel used on common railroads by common engines? And what is their exact process used for the diesel engine normally used and the electric drive system because it's a hybrid vehicle? And what is the maximum grade for just an engine, unloaded, unladen, BNSF railroad engine? This is a variation on the, I don't know about that, and then he blows up on the bridge because, Monty Python. If you want to criticize my videos, actually criticize the fucking video and the content and actually be specific. I critique the news for not telling people where this is really. I mean, there were 2 or 3 roads right nearby. No, it's 1 mile or whatever from a specific location. Mile marker such and such on Interstate Route 445. That would also work. The journalism level. The journalists these days don't tell you where shit happens at all. When I point out the only location on Google Street View to find where someone's marker is from her being killed by somebody, we already know who did it probably at this point, aren't we? Gets critiqued because it's not perfect. I state in the video, I think 4 times, I went ahead and checked, it's at least 4 times, that I'm 800 feet away from anything even close to it, but this is the closest point, and I can confirm that at least it matches what is shown in video. And I also like to point out that journalism failed again by not just showing people a wraparound view so we can get an idea of where this is. Every fucking time I look at the news, especially video presentations, they leave out as much shit as possible. Whether it's a criminal occurrence or a fucking hurricane, there isn't any reason to do it. If you have open access to something as a journalist, you are not obligated, you're duty bound, you bastards, to tell us where, when, how, why. One of the big problems with the Las Vegas shooting, this is the anniversary of it, was that journalists left shit unclear on purpose. So did the police department. There's a loss of a couple of girls who died in Delphi from being murdered, where they're not releasing enough information for us to understand what happened. They're deliberately withholding it under the presumption that they're going to catch a bad guy someday, and they don't want to release out any information. Nothing's going to be visible. They specifically wouldn't tell people exactly where the bodies were found. They wouldn't release the entire audio-video data file so data recovery geeks like me could try to piece it back together again. And by the way, if anybody's curious, I need an image of the entire memory card fully, not just the part they want me to have. They won't release it. Well, the FBI looked at it. The FBI isn't an army of hackers and geeks who do data recovery for free if you let us, who have better technology and better methods. And I've been doing it for, in my case, 20 plus years. But hey, I'm not talking down to my viewers by explaining something using correct terminology here. I get critiqued all the time. Whatever you are, whoever you are, if you do something, why don't you put up a video and see how long it takes for you to get criticized and learn something from it? Or maybe that's what happened because your channel's never been archived. Oh, I meant someone tried to once. Several years ago. Apparently you had content that someone wanted to save. And now you have a blank channel, a couple of subscriptions, and an attitude. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. Yes, this was a waste of time rant for everybody. Bye.